Ever wonder what it is like to have a net worth that is quite literally off the charts? We are talking about the kind of wealth that makes the tech titans of Silicon Valley look like they're just getting by. Well, buckle up, because we are diving deep into the staggering, almost unbelievable world of Qatar's most influential royal, Sheikh Moza bint Nasser. This is not your average royal news update. Sheikh Moza is a figure who has completely redefined what it means to be a queen in the 21st century, and her bank account is reportedly at a level that most people cannot even wrap their heads around. We are talking about trillionaire status. That's a T, and the way she spends that fortune is just as mind-blowing as the number of zeros in her bank balance. If you think Sheikh Moza was born into this kind of luxury, you actually have to look at the scoreboard again. This trillionaire queen started out like a regular girl in Qatar. There were no sprawling palaces or private fleets of jets in the beginning. She grew up in a normal family, living a relatively standard life until everything shifted. It's the kind of turning point that sounds like a movie script. At just 18 years old, she caught the eye of a real-life prince and married Sheikh Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani, who would eventually become the emir of Qatar. One day, she's a teenager navigating life, and the next, she's moving into a palace that makes most European estates look like small cottages. But here's where the story gets interesting for any analyst watching her career. Most people in her position would have been content to just sit back, enjoy the luxury, and play the role of the trophy wife, but that was never the play for Moza. While other royals were perhaps more focused on the social circuit and sipping champagne, she was already looking at the long game. She had a vision for Qatar that went far beyond the traditional roles of the monarchy. She started making moves in education and politics that honestly had the conservative elite in the region completely shocked. Imagine being a woman in a room full of old-school traditionalists who believe women should stay in the background, and then in walks Moza with ideas from her high-level education, ready to revolutionize the entire country. She didn't just rock the boat, she basically built a brand new fleet. Her ambition was always larger than Qatar's massive oil reserves. She started building a presence on the international stage, rubbing elbows with world leaders, and making the kind of power moves that would make a Wall Street hedge fund manager break into a sweat. While some royals were spending their time building mega yachts, Moza was focused on building universities. She didn't just want to provide basic schooling, she wanted to turn Qatar into the intellectual hub of the Middle East. We are talking about billions of dollars poured into research centers and elite programs designed to pull the smartest people on the planet into the desert. Of course, this rise to power brought out the critics. The old guard was not happy about a young woman shaking up the status quo, but she simply didn't care. She kept building her empire brick by brick, and as her influence grew, so did the family's wealth, eventually reaching that legendary trillionaire status. If you really want to understand the power dynamics here, you have to look at how she functioned as the brain behind the operation. While her husband was the public face of the country, Moza was often the one pulling the strings and setting the strategy from behind the scenes. She was like a master puppet master, turning Qatar into a global powerhouse. She dove into reforming everything from healthcare to the school system. This lady was not playing around. She poured billions into infrastructure that would make other developed nations look outdated. And she did it all while advocating for women's rights in a region that was often a taboo subject. She wasn't just talking about change, she was living it. Even her fashion choices were a form of power play. While other royal women might have stuck strictly to traditional attire, Moza was out there in designer power suits that probably cost more than a high-end suburban home. She was not afraid to ruffle feathers, and in many ways, she seemed to relish the challenge. Her influence grew to the point where people began to whisper that she was the one truly calling the shots. While her husband was busy with the formal duties of a head of state, Moza was in the back rooms making the deals that actually mattered. And again, this level of power came with massive wealth. We are talking about an accumulation of assets that makes most countries look like they are struggling. One of the most impressive parts of her portfolio is a project called Education City, which is basically her $33 billion baby. Most people might build a new wing for a library, but Moza decided to build an entire city dedicated to learning. It's 14 square kilometers of pure educational infrastructure. That's roughly the size of 2,600 football fields, filled with the best universities and research facilities money can buy. She actually convinced heavy hitters like Georgetown and Cornell to set up campuses in the middle of the Qatari desert. This is not just a college town, it's a high-tech paradise where students work with equipment that looks like it was pulled from a science fiction movie. When you're dropping $33 billion on a single project, you're clearly playing a different game than everyone else. But let's talk about the lifestyle for a second, because the numbers are just staggering. Her wardrobe alone is estimated to be worth at least $3 million, and that's a very conservative estimate. We are talking about a closet that could literally buy a private island. She's a massive fan of Valentino and has enough of his couture to probably stock a flagship boutique. Every single outfit she wears is a calculated statement. In a region where modesty is the tradition, she uses bold colors and modern silhouettes to say that she's a queen who makes her own rules. She's even been featured in Vogue as one of the best-dressed women in the world. But it's not just the clothes. Her jewelry collection is on another level. We are talking about $50 million worth of diamonds, pearls, and precious stones. She has one necklace alone that is worth nearly $4 million. To her, $1 million outfit is just what you wear on a Tuesday. When it comes to travel, she's not exactly looking for deals on commercial flights. She has a custom Airbus A340-200 that is valued at $500 million. It's basically a flying palace. It has full-size bedrooms, luxury offices, and even a medical center. The interior is dripping in gold and crystal, because at that level of wealth, why wouldn't it be? This jet is her mobile command center. While everyone else is dealing with airport security and cramped seats, Moza is at 40,000 feet running an empire. The crew alone consists of about 30 people, including personal chefs and security. It's like a small town that flies through the sky, and every single person on board is there to ensure she is ready to do business the moment she lands. Her real estate empire is just as intense. She has a property portfolio worth about $7.5 billion. She owns some of the most expensive pieces of land in the world's most important cities. We are talking about massive mansions in London that make the British royal family's secondary homes look like starter houses. She has penthouses in New York that are so high up, she's basically neighbors with the clouds. One of her London properties is valued at $200 million, but these aren't just vacation homes, they are strategic investments. By owning prime real estate in places like Paris, Singapore, and London, she secures a seat at the table of global power. It's real-life monopoly on a trillion-dollar scale.
Despite all the glitz, she's also one of the world's biggest philanthropists. She's dropping more cash on charity than some countries spend on their entire annual budgets. She has foundations that pour billions into disaster relief, healthcare, and education. One of her biggest moves was pledging $7.5 billion to global education projects over a 5-year period. Her foundation, Education Above All, works to get millions of children into schools in places like Gaza, Kenya, and Haiti. She's not just writing checks, she's using her massive influence to get other world leaders and billionaires to join her causes. It is philanthropy on industrial scale. This influence extends to her role as a UN ambassador. She's not just a royal figurehead, she's an advocate for sustainable development goals. When she speaks at the United Nations, people actually listen because they know she has the bank account to back up her words. She's pushing for action on climate change and poverty, and she's using her business smarts to make the UN move faster than it usually does. It's a rare combination of royal prestige, massive wealth, and genuine political savvy. She's proving that being a queen is just the starting point. Even her downtime is spent in total luxury. She has a $1 billion mega yacht that's longer than a football field. It's a floating fortress that features multiple swimming pools, a movie theater, and even a submarine dock. The interior is filled with marble floors and gold fixtures, and it serves as another mobile command center. The yacht is so high-tech that it reportedly has its own missile defense system. While other billionaires are happy with a nice deck and a jet ski, Moza is cruising the Mediterranean in a vessel that's nicer than most 5-star resorts. Then there's the art. Her collection is worth an estimated $2 billion. She owns pieces by Picasso and Warhol, but she also uses her wealth to support and preserve Middle Eastern art. Her collection is so massive and valuable that it requires its own high-security storage facilities that are protected like a central bank. Some of these masterpieces have never even been seen by the public. When your living room has more world-class art than most national museums, you know you have reached a different level of existence. Moza is also a tech titan in her own right. She has invested $5 billion into future-facing industries like artificial intelligence, robotics, and clean energy. She's trying to turn Qatar into the Silicon Valley of the Middle East. While other wealthy individuals might just be buying supercars, she is funding AI research that could cure diseases or robotics that could explore the deepest parts of the ocean. She's not just living in the present, she is actively funding and building the future. She wants to ensure that Qatar remains a powerhouse long after the world moves away from oil. Looking ahead, the future of her empire looks even more massive. There are reports that she plans to double her wealth over the next decade through investments in space tech and blockchain. She is grooming the next generation of Qatari leaders, teaching her children how to manage an empire and navigate the complex world of global politics. She is essentially building an elite team to carry her vision forward. She has turned a tiny desert nation into a global player that punches way above its weight class. In the end, Sheikha Moza is much more than just a wealthy royal. She is a visionary who has used an almost unlimited amount of money to reshape her country and project power across the globe. Whether it's through $33 billion education cities, $1 billion yachts, or $7 billion real estate portfolios, she has shown that when you have trillionaire status, the sky isn't the limit, it's just the beginning. She's not just a queen, she is a global architect of the future, and her story is one of the most incredible examples of how wealth and ambition can change the world.